the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
Utah, Arizona State, like it's gonna. Yeah, I agree.
But let's move on. Yes, this was a little research I did here. So I'll be honest. The basis of this research was some hater stuff right here. Okay. Let's just be upfront. That's what it is. Nico Iamaleava. That's who everyone is like, this guy's a sure thing, right? He's gonna be a Heisman finalist. Tennessee is just gonna go through the roof. Tennessee's got that guy. They got 6'7" Bryce Young, right? Isn't that what you said? But I hear not just you. That's what you called him, right? 6'7" Bryce Young.
I said he's big Bryce Young. That's the way he plays. Like he has.
But the way I hear him talked about, and I'm not disrespecting Nico. Like I mean, the dude's a big time talent. We just haven't really seen him in a full, experience yet, right? We haven't
against a top 5 defense.
That
he eviscerated. Yeah,
we saw what Drew Allard did against that Iowa defense. That's all I'm saying. But he did fine in the bowl game, right? Would take it for what it's worth. So you look at Nico. I hear it. Not just you. You're the Tennessee guy, obviously, and Nico's big time 5-star. But the way he's kind of talked about nationally, it's just like, oh, Tennessee's got their guy at quarterback. Like he's talked about like a sure thing. And one thing I do worry about is when a guy sits behind a quarterback who's not very good. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean Nico's not going to be good, but like a Bryce Young came in, didn't play right away. Well, he was playing behind the guy who won the Davey O'Brien Award, right? Well, it made sense he didn't play right away. Something like that. Joe Milton struggled. That doesn't mean Nico's not going to be good. So that was kind of the basis of this, because a lot of people are talking like he's a sure thing already. So it just got me thinking, like, how many of these 5-stars really do hit? You know what I mean? Like, because we know there's a bunch of guys that come in and they change programs. They come in and they're Caleb Williams and they win a Heisman Trophy. They get picked number 1 in the draft. And there's also guys like let's say Hunter Johnson, who did he ever start at Clemson? He transferred to Northwestern, right?
Yeah, I think he went back. Isn't he back at Clemson, or he was like a backup
grad assistant or something like that?
He was another guy. He was a backup. I'm pretty sure he's been at Clemson multiple times. Like I'm pretty certain that's the case.
So I went all the way back to 2014, right? The last 10 recruiting classes. The data we stopped after the 2021 class, because it's 2022, 2023, a lot of unproven guys that haven't necessarily played yet. So if you go from 2014 to the 2021 class, we had 22 5-star quarterbacks in that time. 6 of those, I would say, hit superstar status, right? Mm-hmm. We got Kyler Murray, Tua Tagovailoa, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Bryce Young, Caleb Williams, right? Superstars. So 27% of the 5-star quarterbacks that have come out in the past decade have actually become superstars. Like we had 4 of them go number 1 overall. 3 of them won the Heisman. 2.5 won a national championship. So we got national title. Trivia question, quick. Can you name the 2.5 5-stars that won a national championship? You want me to tell you?
Wait, say that again.
We got 2.5 5-star quarterbacks.
Why are you saying half? What's the half?
I'll explain it when I get to it.
2.5 5-stars that have won a Vince Young?
No, I didn't go back that far.
Okay.
We're going back to 2014. I'm just going to tell you.
Okay.
Trevor Lawrence
won
a national championship at Clemson, and J.J. McCarthy won a national championship this past year at Michigan. And then the half is Tua Tagovailoa. Is he a national championship quarterback? He was not the starter on the team that won the championship. His 2 years as the starter, they never won a championship. So it's
but they don't win a national championship without him.
The national championship quarterback.
I mean, you don't win a natty without him.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. So it's weird.
No, because he gets it because if he doesn't step in, you don't win. So like Nick Saban has a ring because of Tua Tagovailoa.
And he was a superstar, got drafted top 5, right? Like a lot of these guys have panned out. 15 of the 22 5-stars from 2014 to 2021 transferred. So 68% of these guys didn't even play where they committed to. Like honestly, half of the superstars didn't play. Kyler Murray, Justin Fields, who's the other one? Caleb Williams. Half the superstars didn't even play where they originally signed to. So this was just an interesting list I was looking at. So there's still 5 that are in college from this group. So here, let me read you the whole group, right? So I read you the 6 superstars. Then we have a good, just good. And at the good level, I have Bo Nix and Quinn Ewers. Bo Nix, honestly, like with what his Auburn career was, he was close to fine. But I gave him what he did at Oregon. I put him at good. Quinn Ewers is still TBD. Could be that superstar, but I think you can reasonably say Quinn Ewers is good. And then at that fine level, this is going to be controversial. I got JJ McCarthy at the fine level. I know he went first round, but he was fine in college. He was not a superstar, or he was probably good, but whatever. I'm a hater. I got Josh Rosen in the fine. Obviously, he was a top 5 pick. He was fine. He wasn't some sort of program-changing player. He was fine. Jacob Eason, Davis Mills, Spencer Rattler, JJ McCarthy. That's the fine group. You know, it's like any of these quarterbacks could turn into one of those. And it's like, okay, that's, like I said, that's fine. Connor Wegman was the tough one. I kind of put him in that fine group because I feel like he's a really good player. He's just never healthy. So I don't know how to determine him. Then I got the below average. Honestly, he's borderline bust. You could argue he's bust, but I put him in below average. DJ Uiagalelei, below average. Kyle McCord, Cade Klubnik, and Drew Allard. All of those are TBD, but right now I'm saying they're below average. Like, you're getting a 5-star quarterback. They're not busts by any means, but like, they're pretty disappointing for being 5 stars. You have an opinion there?
I think Drew's, I would keep him away. And I think there's still a lot of optimism. I wouldn't be surprised if Drew's really, really good this year. Cade Klubnik, I'm not big on. I think Klubnik, and we'll see with McCord at Syracuse. But I think Klubnik's actually been the biggest bust of that group, based on what he had around him and what situation he walked into. I don't know. It's kind of wild. I mean, when you put this list out, Matt Green, like Cade Klubnik, I'm noticing a theme here. Cade Klubnik and DJ Uiagalelei, back to back misses, really, potentially at quarterback for Clemson. And they were, I mean, they also, it's just because you can't be perfect forever, right? Where you go back to back with Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence, multiple natties, and you think that this run is just going to continue, and you keep adding 5-star quarterbacks, but then it's like, oh, nope, not all 5-star quarterbacks are the same. And you lucked into generational guys back to back with Trevor and Deshaun, but that has not been the case with DJ and Cade at all.
You could make a case that DJU is a bust as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you're on school 3 and it's not an injury thing, like, it's because you're bouncing around. It's not like Bryce Young's not bouncing around. Caleb Williams bounced around because his coach left. Like, it's not, DJ's not bouncing because of coaching changes and stuff like that. Like, that's what you have to look at.
But I gave him below average. He's not necessarily, but the final list is the bust. You might disagree on Kyle Allen, but I feel like he went down like a competition level. Like, obviously he is in the NFL now, like whatever. But essentially for college, for being the 8th ranked player in the country at A&M, like A&M got nothing out of him. He was I'm calling him a bust. Blake Barnett, Alabama, a bust. Shea Patterson, a bust. Hunter Johnson, a bust. JT Daniels, like maybe teetering on below average, but I think you got to call that guy a bust after 4 schools.
His was injuries, though. Like JT, when he was healthy, and I don't know. JT is a big what if. He's an injury guy.
For sure. I mean, that at the end of the day, it's what you did, and availability is the best ability, right? I think.
Well, can I throw this out with your list here? What I'm noticing.
Hold on. Last one was Sam Heward. The last bust, who's also
he's on school 3 now.
Cal Poly, I think is.
No, he transferred again. He's the backup at Utah now, behind Cam Rising.
Okay, so yeah, I'm calling him a bust as well.
I think that's fair at this point. Well, I look at it too. So 2001, you mentioned Sam Heward, Caleb Williams, Quinn Ewers, and Brock Vandagriff, JJ McCarthy, Kyle McCord. We'll see. That's still pretty solid by and large. And I think Brock will be pretty good, and who knows what he would have done if he had just been the guy at Georgia for a year. Like, I think he would have a solid good year and people would feel pretty solid about him. But Sam Ewert's the only one that jumps out to me as just like, oh, that was just a huge miscalculation there. But I look at 2020, Bryce Young. You look at 2019, Spencer Rattler and Bo Nix were both good players. And I think if Spencer Rattler is on a better team last year, especially, I think he has a very, very different final year. And the offensive line that he's playing behind, the situation that he was in was not great. Spencer Rattler was making some big time throws, and the ceiling of Spencer was still really strong. And Bo is obviously extremely efficient and good for Oregon.
That ended up transferring. Obviously transferred because he got beat out by Caleb Williams, but like, I mean, I guess Caleb Williams left, so he could have stayed. I guess he could have stayed, but yeah,
look at 2022, right? Like Connor Wegman, Ty Simpson's is still what if, we don't know. That's a circumstantial thing because of where he picked.
Yeah, I was gonna get to all the unknowns as well, but go ahead.
Well, like I look at that, I don't know, like Connor Wegman still plus, Cade Klubnik not a plus, but that might be more scheme. It's almost like I look at this of like, okay, what situation was it? Like Caleb Williams, superstar. Oh, he was with Lincoln Riley. Bryce Young, superstar. Oh, he was with Nick Saban and Bill O'Brien, and it worked out really well. You look at Bo Nix when he went to a good scheme with Will Stein at Oregon. That worked out really well. Spencer Rattler was still solid with Lincoln Riley. Justin Fields, Ryan Day, Trevor Lawrence, Jeff. Why am I forgetting?
Franklin. Is that his name? Virginia coach?
He went and took the South Florida job. What was his name? The OC, who was co-OC with Tony Elliott. Scott
Elliott. That's what I'm thinking. Not Franklin.
Is it Jeff Scott? I think it's Jeff Scott. But Scott and Elliott, who were a great tag team, offensive coordinator duo, and then obviously Tua, same sort of thing. I look at this and I'm looking at who was their OC, what situation was it? Like JJ McCarthy, he had Jim Harbaugh as his head coach, the quarterback whisperer. Like, it's just, I think so much of this is also the 5-star. It's like, where do they end up? It's like, if Brock doesn't work out, it's because he's at Kentucky. And a lot of these Kentucky quarterbacks, like, we'll see that you didn't get Liam Cohen. Is that why? Because Liam Cohen left after Brock transferred. Was Kyle McCord more of an offensive line situation? And is he in a better offensive situation at Syracuse? We'll see. Was Cade Klubnik, because they fired their OC after his first year as a starter, was that a Cade Klubnik issue, or was that another issue? And then you have year one with Garrett Riley. Like, I don't know. I still look at this and I'm like, the ones who are finding success are paired with good offensive minds or great head coaches. So if I'm looking at this list of 2023, Nico, Arch, Dante, Jackson, and Malachi, like Malachi jumps out to me. I mean, he's going to be at Boise this year. We'll see how that works out. Dante Moore played, and what we saw was not good. He's at Oregon. We'll see, but we haven't he'll be solid. We'll see how Dylan Gabriel does this year for them. Jackson Arnold. I mean, Dylan Gabriel had success last year, but they have a new OC. They're doing the co-OC thing because Jeff Lebby took the Mississippi State job. I don't know. I'm looking at this. I could see 3, maybe 4 of these 5 being really good, but I still think of the 5.
Well, they're 5-star quarterbacks, sir. We expect all of them to be.
Well, good. I just think Nico is the highest upside. I would still, of this 5, of most likely to be the best of this group 2 years from now when we look back on this, I would still pick Nico. I think Arch might be the safest, but I think Nico is still the highest ceiling.
Well, and in that group too, like obviously Vandegrift, we include in that group because he hasn't played yet. Like, he's projected to be the starter, but in that 2023 group, like Nico is projected to be the starter. Jackson Arnold is starting, and Malachi Nelson transferring to Boise State. I assume he's going to be the starter if he's going somewhere like Boise State. So it's like Dante Moore and Arch still aren't starting. Like Dante Moore, that's just an interesting decision. Like, okay, we don't see that often. A guy who did start and now is like, okay, I'm down to sit a year. But Arch, it's like this guy's going to sit for 2 straight years. You know, we still don't know. Number 1 player in the country. When was the last time we saw the number 1 player in the country just not start for the first 2 years of their career? Like, that's just, we haven't seen that very often. Like a guy like Justin Fields, who was number 2 player in the country, he didn't want to do that. He sat for a couple months and was like, forget this noise. I need to be starting somewhere. And he was probably right. But yeah, I just look at this list. We expected at one time all of these guys to be superstar quarterbacks. That's why they were 5-star prospects, you know? Because I mean, you can say what you want. Like, yeah, the coaching staff, like that's your situation is a big part of what makes you be successful as a quarterback. But Blake Barnett he played for Nick Saban, and he was probably playing for Lane Kiffin at that time, right? And some guys just don't pan out. Jacob Eason just lost the spot because of an injury, and then I don't know who the OC was, but that's Chris Peterson at Washington. Like that's a big time coach. And he wasn't like some sort of difference maker. He was fine. He was a good player that drafted third, fourth round based on kind of like the tools, he was more of a tools kind of guy than he ever really like had a great college career. You know what I mean? There's just some of those guys. And Spencer Rattler kind of feels the same way. Like, yeah, his tools kind of got him drafted, fourth, fifth round? Was he sixth round? He went pretty late, didn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, so we never know. Especially South Carolina. That's with the way that they kind of got killed in the portal a couple years in a row. But yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting with all these guys that are unproven. I think Nico is definitely like everyone's like best bet to be a superstar. But we've seen a lot of 5-stars that were supposed to be superstars in the past.
That's true. Well, good stuff, Matt Green. That was a fun exercise. Who's your bet of these 5 2 years from now that we look at? Who do you think hits and who do you think doesn't based on the situations that they're all in going into next year and the year after?
I mean, I want to see Arch Manning play, but it's like I can't bet anything on this guy being third string as a freshman, and I haven't even seen him play as a sophomore. He's not going to be the starter unless Ewers, I guess, has missed some time every year he's been in college, so we could get to see what Arch Manning can do.
That's an all-time situation. Like if he goes down and Arch is good, like can you really put Arch back out? Like and even though Quinn is a higher rated prospect. Quinn is a higher rated guy, more upside.
I mean, he was like Arch. The highest rated quarterback ever.
Yeah. And I think it'd be really hard to go back and put Arch back on the bench. Like it would be, man, it's something you don't want to have to deal with if you're Steve Sarkisian this year.
But I think 3 years ago, however many years he's been out, I think we can safely say he's not the best quarterback prospect ever. So, maybe he was misranked coming out of high school. Maybe he just had some issues staying healthy. I think Quinn Ewers is a good player, but I mean, I think that's just the easiest way to lose a job. Like you get hurt and the backup comes in and does as good or better. And it's like, well, sorry, man, like this guy's playing now. And if it's Arch Manning, I think you're right. I don't think if Arch Manning comes in and it starts dealing, like, I think it's going to be hard to put him back on the bench.
And you want to win a title. Like this is a team that can win the national championship. Like it's them in Georgia, like in Ohio State, like you're in that top 3 of like, you can win it all. Like you have to be so careful with this, this fall, but it's going to be one of the more underrated things. It's like if Quinn's got to stay healthy because you do not want to be in a situation where you have to deal with that, back and forth and which way you might have to go potentially.
I will say 9 of those 22 were first round picks. Well, I should say probably 10 because I think Quinn Ewers will be a first round pick. That's 45% of those guys have been first round picks. So of this last proven group, roughly half of them could still be first round picks. So, it doesn't necessarily JJ McCarthy and Bo Nix were first round picks and people have differing opinions. Anthony Richardson was a first round pick. That doesn't always mean you were a superstar in college. And I think when we're judging superstars and busts, at the end of the day, we care about what you actually did while you were in college.
There you go. Let's do our themed questions here tonight, Matt Green. So we're going to maybe do this once a month. A nobody asked mailbag here in the off season and stuff like that I've had penciled in that I might write about in the future. Who knows? But I thought it would be fun to pick your brain on, especially here. So first one that I want to throw at you in the nobody asked mailbag. Will we ever see, Matt Green, another regular season run like Georgia over the last 4 years again in college football? Why or why not?
Just in terms of 2 national championships in a 4-year period?
No, just regular season dominance. Like just running roughshod over the regular season, the way that Georgia has over the last 4 years.
3 undefeated regular seasons in the last 4 years? Absolutely, we'll see that. I think college football, like, there's always going to be another great team that just comes around. Like, these conferences are getting more and more difficult, but like, if you're the best team, you can still beat everyone on the schedule. And so, like, the going, what do they have to play now? What are they, Georgia's 15-0 when they won the national championship? Like, now maybe 16. I guess if you have a bye, you only probably get one extra playoff game, right? So maybe 16.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.